I get it.
All right, gentlemen, we're recording now. So, got myself, Johnathan Knight, Joseph Watson, and also known as Sloppy Joe Watson, and the Kimura Gator, Ben Powers, on the
yes, sir.
call. So I put this together, and I picked these three people in particular because we're all kind of different, right? We all come from kind of three different backgrounds, kind of three different jiu-jitsu styles. We all work together and we kind of bounce things off each other, but we're not the same. You know, we're not the same styles. And I've got some questions for you guys.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
I just have to say I'm probably going to disagree with whatever Ben Powers said.
And Sloppy Joe Watson definitely has the least exciting style between all three of us.
This is true. This is 100% true.
He's definitely the guard puller of the group.
Yeah. Hey, I'm working on it, though. Working on some takedowns.
I heard that.
Yeah.
All right. Fixing my screen here. For whatever reason, my emails popped up there. All right. So what are you drinking, Ben?
So Soccer Taco had these gallon margaritas that you could buy to go. So I'm on like my third or fourth glass of margarita, and it's they're pretty stiff, man.
Yeah, in a mason jar.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I can't wait to roll with you after the coronavirus pandemic calms down.
I'm gonna get wrecked.
Yeah,
it's not gonna
I'm
be.
Just gonna do outside passing like crazy, like a Peter, like.
I'm not even gonna go turtle. I'm just gonna go belly down, just log roll over.
I'm studying a lot, but I'm definitely not rolling.
A lot of good content coming out right now, man. Honestly, the best content I've seen ever in jiu-jitsu is coming out right now.
Agreed.
Yeah. I think I have to agree with that. I got some things I'm working on. I was just telling Baby Joe I'm thinking about systemizing a front headlock series that I have in my brain and getting it on the mats. Kind of mixing some wrestling front headlocks with jiu-jitsu back takes and submissions. So that's something I'm working on over the next few weeks because it may be that long before I'm training again. All right, so question one. I'm just gonna I'm gonna kick it out there, sort of get controversial right at the beginning. In a fight, more important, position or submission?
Position.
I'm going to go with position as well, but obviously submission is fight ending. I'm sure everybody's seen the heel hook video with the two guys playing basketball. So submission is very effective as well, or guillotine, for example, that's a fight ender.
The thing is the submission. Okay. First it has to be something that's like a debilitating injury or you got to put him unconscious. With position, you can be on top and you can choose to disengage from it and still end the fight on top. You can get away, run off from there. But if you're going for a submission, you have to either hurt the guy or put him unconscious. And that's not what I think is an ideal fight-ending scenario.
And another point to that, honestly, made me think of is a submission can be inherently risky. So, like, if you go for a triangle choke, for example, and you miss it, you're in a really bad spot.
Yeah, you get pummeled on bottom.
Yeah, or a heel hook or a leg attack or something like that.
Now, that being said, everyone should always hunt for submissions all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask this question because, you're a submission guy, Ben. That's what you do, right? Let me ask two follow-up questions. One, would you change your answer if one of the fighters was much smaller, less athletic, basically had no – if you looked at him, you would never think he could win the fight sort of thing? And number two, what is winning a fight? How do you define a win in a fight?
Well, so nobody wins in a street fight, So optimal goal is first survival, second total damage mitigation, and third making sure that you don't have any legal repercussions. And I think submission puts you at risk in all three, right? And
what about that first question, though?
Yeah, okay, so with a smaller guy, you're saying if I get in a fight with a really little
Silas.
guy?
With Silas.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, submission. I have to – I can't hold a dominant position on someone that's that much physically superior to me. So I'm going to try to hobble him. I'm going to try to destroy either a knee or ankle as quickly as I can. And unfortunately, if it's like life or death, you don't stop there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. In these situations, like your adrenaline's running and everything's going crazy. Like a lot of times you do end up resorting to a submission. But I mean, like Ben said, I think if you have the choice legally and safety wise, you would definitely rather like hold somebody in mount or hold them in a gift wrap or hold in a double body lock, wrist control.
Hold them in a Kimura grip, you know?
Yeah. Yes,
I think you
escalate.
I mean, you're both saying the same thing, right? And that is it's situational to some degree.
Another interesting thing to think about is too. Did you guys see the recent UFC fight with Charles Oliveira and Kevin Lee? Anybody see that?
I saw highlights. Yeah.
So one thing that I thought was really interesting with that was Kevin Lee is a positionally dominant fighter, right? Some would say, like, people have argued he's almost as good as Khabib in that division. And Charles Oliveira literally went for the attack, like tried to kill him the whole time, like pretty much just went for submissions. And because he did that, he put Kevin Lee on defense the entire match. And it kind of made me think of what could happen with that Khabib versus Tony Ferguson fight. Like, basically you have Tony Ferguson, who's a submission, like just wild, like type guy going against a very positionally controlled guy. So it's a tough argument, honestly.
I mean, I would say that in MMA at this point, right? Because no longer do we have like style versus style or discipline versus discipline, I should say. Everybody's a striker, everybody's a jiu-jitsu guy, everybody's a wrestler to some degree. If they're going to have one that's more than the other, but they're all of it. Now it's more finite or acute, right? Like it's like submission guy versus position guy or you know, top player versus bottom player, or, you know, maybe he's more of a striker versus more of a wrestler. It's no longer just, you know, discipline versus discipline. Now it's like little differences or what is their best position or best fighting, you know.
Yeah, like you saw it with like Damian Maia versus Ben Askren. You know, it's like obviously they're both incredible world-class grapplers, but Maia swept him from single leg X, I think 2, maybe 3 times. Yeah. And it was, you know, one specific tiny little area of grappling where he happened to be incredibly superior.
Did you see Maia versus Gilbert Burns?
No, I didn't see that.
That was interesting. Maia was honestly dominating him on the ground, but then got knocked out with a left hook. One punch KO. So.
And then he just hit him a bunch of times.
Yeah, it was
he kind of felt bad, he said, but he was like, you know, I got to go till the ref says stop. So.
I feel like anyone who hits Damian Maia has to feel bad because he's just, you know, super low-key kind of guy.
He's like a Mikey Musumeci of UFC.
Exactly.
All right. I think you guys answered that question well. I mean, you basically said positional first, but in a bad situation where you're smaller, you know, inferior athleticism, you got to do whatever you can to win, and a submission may be required. And it may be an equalizer. Joe and I have talked about that before. Yeah. Submission can be an equalizer on size. You know, if you have 2 black belts, and they're both kind of, you know, at that world level, the highest level, the lighter guy has very little chance of winning unless they finish a foot lock or some sort of submission like that. You know, like a Lakeland Giles was able to do really well in the ADCC with leg attacks.
It's a thing of beauty.
Right, but he couldn't have won that positionally. You know, he couldn't have won those matches.
Not with that attitude.
And now, of course, a little guy with much more skill, like I'm a relatively small guy, and I feel comfortable if I were to be out in the street and a big guy attacked me that wasn't a trained fighter. But if someone your size or Joe's size is going with me, I have to resort to a kind of a different game. I can't use physicality.
Getting guys in positions that they're unfamiliar with, like Lackland Giles put people in that backside 50-50.
Yeah.
Nobody had really seen since Ryan Hall implemented it. And it was like, man, it was really throwing guys for a loop. Or like Keenan doing lapel guards, for example. Like put somebody in a scenario where they've never felt it before and they're not prepared for the reactions.
Yeah, where they're basically a white belt in that specific situation because they haven't done it 1,000 times like they have with everything else.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a really good point, Joe. I hate when you make good points.
Yes. I'll leave the chat now. See you guys.
All right. So I'll move forward. I just thought of a few questions to talk about. This is our first ever Zoom podcast video conference thing. We'll probably do more of these, especially over the next few weeks. But some of these questions are going to be kind of the classic question and answer, but it's not something we always record. Maybe we talk about it, but we don't have it on video. And then because when you put it on video, you have to stand by it. I remember one time I said that the best in the world was Felipe Pena, and I was determined that there was nobody better. And then he lost right after that.
Tex Johnson heel hooked him from 50-50.
Yeah. I mean, it was right away. So, if you have it on video, you have to stand by.
Everybody loses in grappling too.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to lose.
Yeah, it's so different than boxing, you got Money Mayweather, he's 50, but you don't see that in grappling.
There's actually a video floating around right now of Dan Gable's match that he lost to Owens back in 70 or 60 something, whatever it was, in his last college match, and he wasn't supposed to lose. That match is floating around on the internet right now. I've never seen it. I've read about it for my whole life, and because of the coronavirus, we now have video that we would have never had before.
This is the best thing that's ever happened to us.
All right, so next question. This one's a little bit more of a kind of a classic question that people ask all the time, but I want to hear your opinions. Right now, 2020, in the gi, best jiu-jitsu fighter in the world, Ben?
Mikey Musumeci.
Pound for pound.
Even not pound for pound, you saw
he's
him
close, yeah.
doing pretty dang good in absolute, man.
Okay,
so I think, from a technical standpoint, the way he discusses, and of course, I'm a little bit biased because Mikey came and spent some time with us, and we got a chance to really talk with him a little bit. But the way he thinks about, especially with his guard retention, he was talking about if someone's making a grip on your pants, it's different if their grip is on the inside of your shin versus the outside of the shin. If they have a palm down grip, if they're pushing on the shin. And what really got me is he was talking about if they're wearing Storm pants, I play a different game. And it's man, if you have your game optimized to the point where you notice what type of gi they're wearing and you're able to change based on that level of technicality is just it. I didn't realize that it could exist. And Musumeci talks about it like it's just every day for him. It's absolutely reflexive for him to be able to
Have you watched his documentary? Have you watched the documentary on him?
No, not yet.
Dude, it's good, man. It's really good. It's really good. You got to watch it. It's on.
It's right up there with the Tiger guy on Netflix right now. It's right up there.
Hey, we're watching Downton Abbey every night. I don't know if you guys.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we watched it 7 years ago. We're watching it again.
Dang.
But check out Mikey's video and flow. It's great. Joe, what about you?
Man, I also have to agree with Ben here. I think Mikey is he's the highest skill level right now. But it's interesting because if you think about it, he's hyper focused on a couple different positions, like collar sleeve guard, berimbolo. And it's I wonder if he's probably not the most well-rounded guy. I bet he knows zero judo. I know he knows a little bit of wrestling, but I bet he's not like super high level.
Man, I want to see Mikey Musumeci take Baby Joe down right now.
he probably would, honestly. I'd be like, I'll say that, and he like just double eggs me or like ankle kicks me or something.
Yeah.
But and then like heel hooks, I'd love to see if does he have good heel hook game? I'm sure
he's got some good foot locks. He's got some good foot locks.
Yeah, he's got man. The way he does his toe hold, he does it specifically so that it feels like a heel hook when it comes on.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like I think he's the best in the gi, but I don't.
All right.
think
Well, since you're both agreeing, who's number 2? Joe.
Number 2. I want to say Rafael Mendez but he doesn't compete. So
current.
I don't know. Let me think about it for a second. I'm not sure yet. Ben,
all right.
You got one for this?
Dang. I'm kind of tempted what Johnathan was saying earlier. I'm kind of tempted by Felipe Pena. He's a freaking machine, dude.
Kanan's a good one.
Kanan is really good, but he got someone caught him with something really stupid last year. I don't remember what it was, but
Buchecha.
Oh yeah, okay. Buchecha would be a solid choice. Yeah.
Over Mergali.
Oh, Mergali, thanks. See,
Dude, when
Mergali lost recently, he couldn't get out.
I like Mergali's jiu-jitsu a lot, man.
But he couldn't get out of the 50-50 with
Yeah, but if you lose by 50-50, I mean, are you really that upset, honestly?
Well, I mean, but all right, we're not talking about upset or not upset. We're talking about second best in the world.
True.
Man, you have to be absolutely impeccable with your 50-50 skills. It has we did this the 2017 Worlds, the statistical analysis of it, that 50-50 sweeps from 50-50 were the highest yielding position for points. Man, if people aren't drilling that game, if they're not incredibly good at that, then they don't deserve to be the best because they're not paying attention to what the game is doing.
That's a good point.
Samuel Braga has specifically talked to me multiple times about the 50-50 and how important it is. And really, it's the most strategic game you can play.
And what's interesting is, like, it started at the lighter weight divisions, and now, look, Marigali versus Hugo are 2 super heavyweights playing it now. But I think that took 6 years to do.
Did anybody think Hugo would beat Marigali that night? I don't think anybody did.
Yeah, I think not very many. You could have won some money if anybody bets on sports jiu-jitsu matches.
I think Hugo is the only guy that thought could win.
Yeah.
And he's the only guy that mattered, right?
Yeah. But you know what? I'm going to say, though, in the gi right now, after Mikey, I think I agree with you guys. Mikey, best current. In the gi right after him, I have to put Mergali even after that loss to Hugo. He to me, the second best in the gi right now.
I like that.
He's a freaking beast.
Onto that one.
All right. Next question. Before we go to no gi, while we're staying in the gi, who's the rising star? Who's the future of gi jiu-jitsu?
Man, I hear about this guy. They call him Joe Watson. He's fresh to the competitive black belt scene in the IBJJF, but
he just watches YouTube all day and just these jiu-jitsu savage.
Yeah. I heard he pushed Mateus Denise to advantage only win.
Hey, we're coming for
very impressive.
Learning every day.
Yeah. And he also gave Johnny Grippo a run for his money.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Gianni Grippo, who was it? Emilio Hernandez that had that dope match with Gianni Grippo at what was that, Pans last year?
Yeah. They're one of the two. He's good too.
He's another Tennessee grappler that is.
He's an animal.
Freaking incredible. Yeah.
I competed against him like 2 or 3 times. He's an animal.
Yeah, I competed against him once, and he made me look like a fool.
He's fast, bro, and he doesn't like to tap. He's got like warrior heart.
Yeah.
Hey, you know who gave him work though, man? Clay Dobson gave him work, man.
Dude, I told Clay before that match, I was like, Clay, I know
that was a grappling industry.
He's gonna fireman's carry you.
Yeah.
And Clay was like, man, whatever. And then Emilio hit that fireman's carry on him.
Yeah.
I think twice in that match.
He didn't even wrestle. He's got good takedowns, man.
Yeah.
Man, I was not
But
expecting
hey,
that.
Tough too, man.
But you got to give it to Clay, man. He was hanging right there with him.
If Clay got him in a front headlock, it would have been interesting.
I think Clay was still a blue belt then, or just maybe
he was.
Got his purple, you know?
No, yeah, he was blue belt.
He's been grappling for a long time.
Yeah, but I mean, Clay is a legit purple belt, man.
Yeah, and he heel hooked a brown belt in that no-gi at Grappling Industries
and
as
Arthur.
Well.
Yeah. And we
that's what I was trying not to name him, but thanks.
Oh shoot, my bad. I was like, I think I know that brown belt.
Hey, and we all know how tough he is.
No, but to answer your question, Jonathan, up and comers, the whole Dream Art Project team, I'm like obsessed with them lately. Like I go to their Instagram every day for like the past year. And man, these guys are on like the cutting edge of gi. They don't do any no gi, but they're on the cutting edge of gi.
I have to agree with that. I mean, I think if you're watching this video later, when we post it, you got to go check out Dream Art, man. It's impressive.
Yeah. The new age guys in Brazil, the sport is so much older over there that I feel like they're kind of on the up and coming scene, like the Michael Galvao guys and stuff like that. It's like in America, we grow up with basketball, baseball, and football. These guys grow up with jiu-jitsu and soccer.
Did you see Michael Galvao have that match with some
Russian guy?
No. Yeah, I want to say Russian.
The Russian guy destroyed him.
I haven't seen that.
Dude wrecked him.
But wasn't it no-gi? It was no-gi, right?
Yeah, it was no-gi. And I mean, the guy is
I don't think he's as good at no-gi, honestly. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as he is in the gi.
Yeah. I haven't seen that match. I've heard about it, but I do think before Ben says his answer, to me, he is in the gi. He is the up and comer. I mean, he's the next thing, I think.
Yeah, he's a beast.
What do you think, Ben? Joe said all of Dream Art, so
yeah, that's not fair. I have to go with one, and I don't think he's actually maybe number two, but his skill set is so different and is so new and brings a lot of value that I think I have to talk about him is Espen Mathiasen.
Oh yeah.
When he Baron Bolo'd Lucas Barbosa, that was freaking nuts, especially because that was, I mean, obviously huge weight difference in him, and it was right after Keenan had said, and the Baron Bolo doesn't work, and then Mathiasen hits it on one of his main teammates, That was a huge moment for me, and everything he's doing with the Keymaster guard.
Have you messed with the Matrix at all?
Yes. Yeah, I love that game.
I think it's one of the more like undiscovered positions in jiu-jitsu right now too.
Yeah.
If you combine it with lapels and stuff like that, it's like there's a lot of potential for guys.
It plays really well with Lachlan's 50-50 leg block and stuff now too.
Would you say it's like unknown, similar to the Teshugo guard, or
the Teshugo guard? I'm still not convinced even exists.
Have you not seen it? You haven't seen it yet?
No, I haven't been there, man.
Oh, I posted a video of it, man.
When did you post it? Did you post it on all of your accounts?
Yeah. Go to Maryville Jiu-Jitsu's page, man. You'll see the Teshugo.
Yeah, I will.
It may change it. It may change your game.
When did you post that?
2 weeks ago, I think. Last week, maybe.
2 weeks ago, I was in Philadelphia. So I was super busy. Actually, I was drunk all week. But
all right, so let's see. I've got two more questions. For this first one, I'll go ahead and get to the no-gi question. I was listening to Gordon Ryan was on a podcast today, and they asked him why he said he was retiring. I don't know if you guys saw that. Did you see what he said?
Yeah, it's basically for attention, right?
Yeah, he basically just admitted that he had a little break, and he thought that if he did that, he would get a lot of followers, and he did. So he just played the media, right? So he got a bunch of followers. But that brought up my question is, I think we all agree, Gordon Ryan is, hate him or love him, he's the best no-gi fighter in the world, right? But I don't think anybody's arguing with that at this point. Who's going to beat him? Somebody's going to beat him. I mean,
Vinny
everybody.
Vinny beat him.
I mean, who's going to beat him now that he's at his peak?
Probably, man.
Because some of the people that have beat him, right? You could argue he wasn't peaked then. You could argue that.
Joe, who's that 10th Planet guy that won the tournament that you went
Kyle
to?
Bohm.
Yeah.
Kyle Bohm.
He's been calling him out like crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, dude, I think a guy that's going to beat him that's really good at wrestling and positional control and can kind of just like shut him down and like lock his hips, like a good body lock passer, like a Mateus Diniz type guy. You know, I'd be surprised to see a guy.
I don't think Mateus Diniz is big enough.
Yeah, maybe not him in particular, but a guy of similar type attributes. You know, like a DJ Jackson's beat Gordon in the past, like a guy that's not the most exciting style, but has
Didn't
good.
they beat him when they were like purple belt?
It was back in the day, definitely not black belt.
I mean,
dang.
He's going to – I think he'll lose before he retires. I mean, who's he going to be? I mean, you know, some people could say Felipe Pena has dominated him, and so he's actually better. But there's an argument to you know, right now today, how much he's progressed since their fight, their last fight, you know.
Yeah, and you have to think realistically, who could he have a match with? And there's no reason for him to have a match with Felipe anytime in the next 2 years, right? So
what about Galvao?
I think at ADCC it's going to be close because Galvao is so good at ADCC.
Exactly, he has that style where he could take you down and like he could avoid your submissions.
Dude, I've watched his takedowns lately and realized that he has modified wrestling for jiu-jitsu as well as anybody I've seen.
Yeah, I think he has a chance.
I mean, there's a lot of people that don't like Galvao right now because of the whole, you know, pets and things. But I think that I think in no-gi ADCC, which is kind of a wrestling jiu-jitsu mix, he's tough, man. He's tough to beat. There's a reason.
How old is Galvao?
Probably about my age, 29.
Oh, that master's life.
I don't think he's mastered too.
I think makes it tough.
Yeah, it does make it tough. I mean, it does. I mean,
because Gordon's still so freaking young for what he's done. You know.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be interesting if one of the Ruotolo brothers put on enough muscle to get up to that weight class. That would be.
Yeah.
Let's get those boys on some stacks, man.
Yeah. Get the meows on that much, you know. Although,
the meows probably have bodies, joints of an 80-year-old, honestly.
Yeah, they're wrecked.
I was watching a Meow versus Guy Mendez match from a few years ago yesterday, and yeah, man, I mean, they just totally ignore the physics of the body and what a neck should or shouldn't do, or a foot should or shouldn't.
Hey, you know who else is like that? Is one of their training partners, Leandro Lowe.
Yeah.
They had that video of Craig Jones just exploding his knee with a heel hook.
Yeah.
Like, he literally tries to back step off that same leg right after it. You can see his knee like kind of shaky, and you're just like, dude, imagine like the poker face you would have to feel all the ligaments in your knee pop and then just try to poker face through it and keep going in your match. That guy's an animal.
Yeah.
He's ready to die every match.
Yeah. Hey, we got about 8 minutes left on this meeting, according to our limit here, because we are not paying customers. So we just don't know who can beat Gordon, I guess.
You know who I think would be interesting is Victor Hugo. You know, he had a solid win against Cyborg.
Yeah.
And I think – I'm not sure if his style is a good matchup, but the kid is on fire right now. I would love to see him continue that momentum.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Last question for today. I like using gi athletes because it's less I don't know. It's less obvious in the gi.
It's less useful, less valuable.
Think of the best gi fighters you know, and pull them out of the gi and stick them in MMA in the octagon right now. who would transition the fastest and do the best in a short period of time right now?
It's a tough question.
Dang. Do they have to be strictly gi guys? Or
No, I wouldn't say strictly. They could be a hybrid, but I would say that they're definitely gi fighters. They're not, just no gi guys.
Yeah.
You know who I'd like to see is Dante Leon. I feel like that dude's like super jacked. He's got nasty leg locks, and he's good from like takedowns and like top guard. He can always submit you. He's good at front headlocks. That's who I'd like to see.
That's a solid choice. And he's from he's from Ohio or something, right?
Yeah,
he's from Toledo. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a grinder type guy. I could see him being good at MMA.
I'd like to see Adam Wardzinski.
That's an interesting choice.
Yeah, so the only reason that I bring him up is Josh Hinger talked about having a match with him, and he said it was absolutely the worst experience of his life, that it was the most grindy, brutal, and that he was the best dude that he has ever had a match with.
Wow.
And
I wonder too, like, because he's got such an unorthodox style, butterfly hooks is something I've been going back to lately, bro, because it's like butterfly hooks are super effective because the guys go down to their knees and start passing.
Yeah, and being really good at butterfly guard, I think, is useful for MMA because he has to be good at keeping people close to him with overhooks and underhooks to play that butterfly game really well. And I think that translates super well. Even like when you're talking about pummeling against the cage, I think he's going to be really, really good at getting those underhooks and using them, taking advantage of it, straightening their spine out with it and everything.
In MMA, like the moment you don't have an overhook and underhook, you got to either go for wrist control or head control. And like both of those, you can get messed up really easy.
Yeah.
But guys make it work. Like Nogueira back in the day, if you were watching.
Yeah, double wrist control guard.
He'll do double wrist control. And, he got hammered a lot, but he also won a lot of fights against, he beat Bob Sapp. I mean, that's one of the greatest. If you've never watched that fight, you got to watch that fight. For me, that's pure MMA entertainment at its finest, Jiu-jitsu. So there's a lot of ways to make it work, but I think you're right. Like overhooks and underhooks are the smart.
Yeah.
So I'm going to we only got 4 minutes left, so I'm going to throw out my choice real quick before we kind of have our closing statements. I'm going to kind of go back to you guys' first statement of who's the best in the gi in the world. And I'm going to say Mikey Musumeci would make the transition to MMA faster than any person based on his brain. He, I think, is the smartest fighter in jiu-jitsu. I think he would do the appropriate study, the necessary studying that would be required to make the transition. I think he can learn it faster than everybody else. And I think he's the most determined athlete in the gi. So I'm going to go with Mikey Musumeci as a small fighter, would make the transition to MMA faster than any other person based on intelligence and work ethic.
One question about Musumeci. Can he learn to not pull guard for MMA?
Hey,
only time will tell.
Hey, watch his little video on Flow. One thing I learned about him is he grew up he was on a wrestling team just to make his wrestling better. And if you watch his old matches before he was a black belt or before he was probably purple and brown, he was wrestling a lot. I think he can do it. I think he just doesn't because his primary game, similar like Samuel. I don't know if you guys have ever wrestled with Samuel. I've wrestled Samuel, and he's a non-wrestler, and I was a wrestler, and he's the best wrestling non-wrestler I've ever grappled with, right? He just plays guard.
Joe, how does that make you feel?
It's true. I've seen it.
I mean, Samuel and I have had takedown battles for 30 minutes, and he never wrestled. And I wrestled my whole life, He's
got natural cardio. He's fast.
And let's just be honest. Samuel is a Mikey Musumeci. He's just my age. If we had the social media that we have now, when Samuel was in his prime, he would be the person that you see on Flow every week, just like Mikey. He was Mikey. He's just like me. He's in his mid-30s now, and it's different. now. I mean, he's still phenomenal, but his prime was before the flow movement, All right, we're less than a minute. We got to go. Thank you guys for this time. I can't wait to do this again. This was actually really fun. So I look forward to seeing it on YouTube.
Next time I gotta get a margarita or something, man.
I'll send you guys a link. All right, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Johnathan.
Yep. See you soon. Bye.